Hey guys, this is Sarah from Bar Freak. This week's episode does contain mentions of torture and sexual violence, so just a quick trigger warning before you start, but we hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, and welcome to Bar Afrik, the podcast where we tell the unexplored stories surrounding African decolonization.
I just want to highlight to everyone that we are recording at 9:30 a.m. Canada time,
Yes,
the
we are.
Montreal time. And clearly Lynn's a morning person.
I am.
Yes.
I am. I was up at 6, guys. I was ready to go by 7:30. I really was. Anyways, the person that we have in studio today is a very good friend of mine, our special guest, Aisha. Hi, Aisha.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Tell the people who you are.
Well, my name's Aisha Zerbo, if you want the last name, or the Govey. I was raised in Ivory Coast, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Burkina Faso.
What a time.
It was a time. Yeah, I remember.
Oh, you have lived experience.
Yeah, I do. I remember. I think I've had a lot of
it's incredible.
like historical moments happened, like the economic crisis, and I remember the coup d'état in Burkina Faso when that happened. I was there.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, that was.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was there. I remember so clearly. I was supposed to go see a friend on Friday. But then we canceled and everything. And that weekend of Blaise Compaoré got disposed, and I used to live next to his brother. And they were starting to burn houses, like François Compaoré. I used to live next to François Compaoré. And they burned houses and burning hotels. It was violent, but wasn't really violent. Not as violent as what the Ivorian Civil War was. That was also a time. Because I was there.
You lived through that too?
Not the 2010 one, the 2004, 2005 one.
You were young.
Yeah, I was young. I don't remember everything, but my sisters and
Yeah, they remember.
they remember, right? Anyways, I digress.
No, but I think it's such a privilege to have you on the pod, and I think that's we bring African guests onto most of our episode, and I think that this is why, because I think it's an incredible amount of lived experience that we can borrow, and yeah, I think that we're super grateful to
Well,
have.
thank you for having me. I'm
Of
very
course.
excited. Good times.
Yeah, and more to come. Lynn, tell us what we're talking about today.
Okay, today we're going to be talking about a quite unknown but very important document called the Blue Book that was published in the early 1900s. And it basically outlined all of Germany's activities in what was known as German Southwest Africa, which is present-day Namibia.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about
The
that.
Namibian genocide?
Yeah,
Oh.
so we're going to be talking about everything that's outlined in the book and also what happened after it was published. All right, so I'm going to start with just giving a little bit of context surrounding the creation of the book. And we're beginning in 1915, right? It's World War I, and sort of the forces of the Union of South Africa, who were under British administration, invaded German Southwest Africa, and successfully defeated the German army that was stationed there.
Mm.
And when the United States entered World War I, it became increasingly likely that Imperial Germany was going to get defeated, right? And considerations started to be given about what was going to happen to the captured German colonies. On their side, the British made the decision that they were going to compile a bunch of evidence to try and convince the Allied powers that Germany should not retain control of their colonies, and that instead, the Union of South Africa should be the colonizing force in German Southwest Africa and not Germany. And on September 6th, 1915, there was a man named John Merriman, who used to be the prime minister in the Union of South Africa, who wrote a letter. And in his letter, he was trying to advocate for the collection of evidence that would support the Union's case. 2 years later, September 1917, a British man named Major Thomas Leslie O'Reilly was sent an official letter from the British officials authorizing him to start working on an extensive report outlining all of Germany's activities in German Southwest Africa.
Mhm.
He was based in German Southwest Africa at the time as a military magistrate, right? And he'd been able to develop very close relationships with different Herero chiefs in the territory.
Mhm.
One of the people in particular was Chief Daniel Kariku from the Omahuru district. As he's working on this report, he's traveling the country, he's conducting interviews, he's reading through archival documents, he's meeting with other local military magistrates to sort of set up meetings with other key informants, right? And by the end of his work, he's able to interview a total of 75 eyewitnesses of Imperial Germany's time in what we know as today, Namibia.
Mhm.
In August 1918, he finally publishes his findings in a lengthy and extensive report called Union of South Africa, Report on the Natives of Southwest Africa and Their Treatment by Germany. Today, it's known as the Blue Book.
Okay.
Yeah. And his Blue Book, as a primary source material, paints an incredibly painful and heartbreaking story of like colonial rule. And so what I'm going to do now is sort of take you through the story of what this book outlines.
Lynn, just to kind of like summarize, South Africa, no, Britain
Yes.
is trying to take over the German colonies
Yes.
after
Via
World
you
War II,
yeah.
or after World War One ends.
Yes. So they're trying to get that specific territory. That's what Britain wants. This
And so
specific
they
territory.
use the Blue Book to be able to like basically build a case
Yes,
against
exactly.
Germany.
Which is
Exactly.
really funny because of what they did.
Yes, exactly. And so our story with the Blue Book begins in 1884 with German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, who during the Berlin Conference was very, very keen on getting his hands on a specific set of territory because he wanted to civilize and spread enlightenment.
Don't they all?
Always.
Mm.
And the Germans were so intent on this specific expansion dream that once they arrived in German Southwest Africa, they created protection treaties with different indigenous chiefs against each other. And there were two particular tribes that were basically the majority of the territory, the Herero and the Nama, who already didn't have a good relationship with each other. And so the Germans were able to take advantage of that, right? And because the Hereros saw each other as their primary targets, like their primary threats, the Germans were able to use that because they knew that any alliance between those two tribes would put at risk the expansion of the settler colony that they were trying to build. Yeah.
I feel
It-
like it's the same story over and
Yeah.
over and over again. And it's like they have a playbook.
Yeah,
It's
they
like
do.
they sat down and said, you know what? This is how we will divide and conquer
Yeah.
all the indigenous people of the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the Herero were some of the first people to actually break and cancel those treaties. And they also tried to expel the small German administration that was there.
Okay.
But that didn't really go very well. And so the German administration began to use their alliances with the other indigenous tribes, particularly the Nama, to try and fight the rebellious Herero, right? By taking their land and their cattle and selling both of those to settlers for a profit, right? And as the Herero tried to resist all of this, brutal military tactics soon became the primary method that the Germans used to sort of suppress any resistance to their colonial projects. To make things even worse, the Herero had fallen victim to a Rhine pest epidemic. Yeah, so that killed the majority of their cattle and made like relationships within the tribe very
Tense.
difficult and very tense. And all of this forced them towards starvation, indebtedness, and becoming migrant laborers. And with the Herero already really weakened, the Germans became even more brutal in their colonial policies. For example, if a white person was killed, multiple Africans would be punished or executed. But if an African was killed, most of the time, no white person would get punished.
I mean, like they said, we're not worth the same life,
Yeah,
As in the passports.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
basically that
Yeah.
translated.
Yeah. And because of this, German settlers and soldiers were able to treat the Herero and like all the Africans in the area in whatever way they chose, whether it was violent or depraved, with zero consequences.
Of course.
And the Herero at this point were incredibly powerless. But by the end of 1903, they wanted their land back, they wanted their cattle back, and they wanted their political independence back.
Period.
But most of all, they wanted revenge. They wanted
As
revenge.
one should.
Yeah. And one note, right? I had said that the Herero and Nama were already having tensions with each other. So when the Herero had asked the Nama to support them in like their uprising or getting revenge, the Nama refused. They basically said, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That is what the Nama was saying. The enemy of my enemy is basically my friend. But despite all of this, right?
No, because I feel like we need to sit on that for a second.
Like, come on, man. Like,
Like, I just feel like there's an alternate timeline where they
Absolutely.
band together.
Yeah.
I don't know if they win,
But
but
there
I
was the
think
possibility.
I think they could. I think the main problem that I keep on seeing in like these history like recollections is like we weren't French word is coming into my like united.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like whenever someone else came, we'd be like, well, this is the opportunity for me to like whack my enemy in the end, when they didn't see the bigger picture of like, this person is not here for your benefit at all. They're not thinking about you.
They're not. Yep.
They're not even seeing you as human, first of all.
Yeah.
And it's the same story over and over and over again. And I don't understand, like, I don't know how twisted of a mind you have to be. And I think about it so often in terms of colonialism.
Yeah.
You sit down and like think about how to hinder like this one person. Like, how can I hinder them to complete oblivion?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think also whatever conflicts and tensions that they had between tribes was very deep.
Probably, yeah.
Was incredibly deep, that whatever opportunity that they saw to one up each other, they took.
They didn't
And
think
I
about
think
the far.
They didn't think far enough. And I think that that's sort of what happened with the Nama and the Herero. They didn't think that far. So
do you think that like maybe the mistake or one of the mistakes was seeing white European settlers as like just another tribe?
yes,
Because it's like if you're a tribe and then you have a problem with the tribe over there, and then these new people come and you're like, oh,
Yep.
it's just another tribe we're dealing with,
Yep.
instead of seeing it as like a
Yep.
bigger, broader.
I think so.
Probably,
I
yeah.
think so. And I think definitely think that that's definitely a possibility. But even as the Nama refused to help them, on January 12th, 1904, the Herero, who were led by Chief Samuel Maherero, took their chance to rebel against the German colonizers. And because the German ruling forces were so unprepared for the attack, approximately 123 German settlers were killed
So they
by the Herero.
decimated the tribe then.
Yeah, they killed a lot of people. But over the following months, though, the Herero were slowly overwhelmed by the more equipped, more modern German forces who were under the command of a man named Theodor Lutwin, who at the time was the governor of German Southwest Africa. A few months later, Chief Maherero, along with other survivors, were smuggled into Botswana by another Herero chief named Hosea Kutaku. And Kutaku was one of the first people actually to give an eyewitness account of the uprising to O'Reilly for the Blue Book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right?
Oh, primary source there.
Yeah.
Good for him.
And by April 1904, Lutwin and his army had managed to corner the Herero forces at what was known as the Waterberg Plateau, and they were attempting to negotiate their surrender. But those negotiations went nowhere, and so Lutwin had to sort of retreat his troops back. Back in Germany, the German Emperor, Kaiser Wilhelm II, right, was getting increasingly frustrated with like the slow progress of the negotiations, right? And so he decided that he was going to replace Lieutenant Lutwin with another man named Lieutenant General Adrian Dietrich Lothar von Trotha, appointing him Supreme Commander of German Southwest Africa. Von Trotha, this man is a scary man. This guy, I think, should be on the list of like most evil people on the planet. Like, this man was insane. He earned a
Rank him.
Yeah, no, honestly, when I was researching this, I was like, oh, this man is scary. He earned a reputation for brutality due to his war methods. Like, he was really, really good at squashing any sort of resistance and doing so violently. Like, he had done it like in other places in the world. Like, I think he'd done it in China as well. Like, that was his reputation, that he could do things with brute force. And so when he arrived in German Southwest Africa, he believed that the conflict in the territory had degenerated into a race war,
Voila.
and that negotiations were impossible,
There we go.
and that only annihilation was gonna solve the Herero question once and for all.
As one does.
And so a couple months after he arrived, on August 12th, 1904, von Trotha ordered the German troops to encircle the Herero people who were still at the Waterberg Plateau. His troops killed between 3,000 to 5,000 Herero combatants. The majority of the men, women, children, and livestock who were able to escape went through a gap in the east, and they fled towards the direction of the Omaheke Desert. Von Trotha insisted that his soldiers pursue the fleeing Herero further into the desert. At that point, the Herero population was effectively fenced into the Omaheke, right? Most did not have the strength to cross it, and the German military prevented them from escaping back into German Southwest Africa. A few months after that, in October 1904, von Trotha issued a formal extermination order giving free rein to his troops to kill indiscriminately. This was the beginning of the genocide. Here is some of the text from the extermination order. All the Herero must leave the land. If the people do not do this, then I will force them to do it with the great guns. Any Herero found within the German borders with or without a gun, with or without cattle, will be executed. I shall no longer spare any women and children. I shall give the order to drive them out and shoot them. This is my decision for the Herero people.
I don't like the last sentence of it because it just sounds like I don't know what the word is. I just feel like saying this is my decision for a people is like just a wild
Thing to say.
Because it's like,
thing to say. Yeah.
it's the most dehumanizing way you could say it. Basically,
Yeah.
the way he saw these people, like, I wouldn't even call them people in his perspective, right?
didn't see
They were
them as
a
people.
problem. They had to leave. And how do you eradicate a problem? You eliminate it. Like, that's what you have to do. This is a problem.
Yeah.
I need to take it out. And how do I take it out? Well, just like remove all the people, because
Yeah.
if I keep someone will have an uprising. Someone will want to do so. The solution is everyone must go.
Yeah.
Period.
It's like scorched earth. Like,
Yeah.
that's literally what he wanted.
But you know what's crazy though? When you think about it, this is not your land.
That's the thing. But they didn't see it that way.
Where you're from. Like, I'm so confused about
But to be-
entitlement.
But
of
to
it.
have that entitlement, you must not see the people who are there as people.
It's true.
They are just an obstacle in the way of your dreams. That's literally all that they were. And that's where we will leave you with part 1. Sarah, tell us what we're drinking today.
So you guys are drinking malt Guinness. It is, so it's a non-alcoholic malt drink that is local to Nigeria and Ghana, but imported or exported to other places in the African continent as well as the Caribbean as well. This drink is known for its sweet, caramel-tinged, carbonated flavor, packed with vitamin B and C. It is a high-energy drink meant to bring you vitality, and it is a drink for all ages, so you can give it to your children.
I mean, I did drink it as a child, so
Yes.
It's actually nice. And I'm not always a Malta fan, but this is quite nice.
I am a diehard Malta fan. Like,
You like my
Really?
sister?
Like
She
it-
loves Malta.
inject it. Like, I love it so much.
Before we took a break, Von Trotter, who sounds like a supervillain,
Yes.
is what I'll
Yes,
say.
he
It
does.
sounds like a
Um,
Disney villain.
Yeah, he sounds like a Marvel
Uh,
villain.
Yeah, he had issued an extermination order for the Herero people.
Yes. And so with this extermination order in place, remember, he never got approval from the German emperor. He just did this on his own.
Oh,
Yeah, he never got approval for this. He just decided that he was gonna
take matters in his
into his own hands, right?
An employee with a self-starter.
Yes.
He's taking initiative.
He's able to manage himself, work
Period.
independently.
Exactly.
Like he never got approval, never went to talk to the higher ups in Germany. He just decided to like put out this formal extermination order himself. And so his military went on to shoot, bayonet, bludgeon, hang, and burn individuals, crops, livestock, and homes. Those who were able to survive were driven back into the Omaheke Desert, where the heat by day, the cold by night, and the poisoned water bodies killed many people and livestock, whose numbers to this day we cannot fully grasp. Like, we don't know the number of people that actually ended up dying in the Omaheke Desert trying to flee the German forces. Yeah.
Continue.
The Nama, they're back in this.
Their ops.
They're back. The most powerful Nama chief, Henrik Witbooi, had remained on friendly terms with the Germans. And during the Herero uprising, he'd even gone on to give them a troop of 1,000 men. But he soon realized that his tribe was headed towards the same annihilatory treatment that the Herero were going through.
Oh.
So he finally clocked that they were next. They were going to be the next victims, right? He finally saw that after seeing the amount of Herero folks that were getting killed. He said, okay, maybe I should change tactics, right? So in the early days of October 1904, like literally after the first extermination order was given, Chief Witbooi led his own revolt. And Witbooi to the Nama was a strong unifying force, right? And he led them with incredible conviction. However, at the end of October 1904, during a raid against the Germans in a place called Koichas, Witbooi was killed. The Germans.
Oh no.
Yeah. And so with him gone, it kind of made it difficult for the Nama to sort of go forward because they were incredibly demoralized. Like he was their paramount chief, right? And so without a leader, it looked like the Nama had no chance.
Yeah.
But Van Chota issued a second extermination order,
Period.
April 1905. This time against the Nama.
Uh-huh.
But his soldiers were actually having a very hard time subduing the Nama because the Nama knew the terrain really, really well. So they had a hard time sort of subduing them. And with the increased bad publicity that they were getting in Germany, like prominent voices within politics and like the Christian church truly opposed von Trotta's inhumane and barbaric war methods, right? Including the current chancellor, Bernard von Berlo. So the military tried to seek an end to the war with the Nama. Like they wanted to negotiate. But Von Trotta didn't want that.
Period.
He just wanted all the Herero and all of the Nama killed. He just wanted them completely gone. He was not doing negotiations with anybody. So Chancellor von Bülow had asked Emperor Wilhelm II to relieve von Trotta of his duties. But at that point, it was too late. Von Trotta's genocidal plans were already underway and in full action. So there was no way that even if you relieve him of his duties, things were still going to go on. So there was nothing that they could do about that. So instead, what the German emperor did in December 1905 is he rescinded the first extermination order of the Herero, and he instead gave von Trotta instructions to establish concentration camps for the, quote, temporary housing and sustenance of the Herero people.
Period.
There were two types of concentration camps. Labor camps.
I would just
and
like
death
to
camps.
say that, Lynn, I now take back my earlier comment. I do not believe that von Trotta's,
Yeah.
bosses or whatever
Did
did not know,
Yeah, I
did
think
not
they
fully
did.
endorse what he was doing.
I think this is what happened.
Yeah.
I think Von Trotha issued the first extermination order without approval. And then when the emperor found out, he just didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. Once they started getting that bad publicity, he was like, okay,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
maybe we should try something different. And his different was the concentration camps.
That he made sound like social housing.
That's what literally what
Like,
he did.
literally made it sound like social house.
But also the use of the concentration camps was also a means of mitigating the labor shortage and ensuring the continued operation of German companies. Also, quick note, guys, I tried to do a little bit of investigation to see if some of those companies still existed today. And I think I found one, but I have to like check my sources. But I'm actually quite invested in figuring out if some of those companies that like profited from this are still
Genocide?
active today, but under different names.
Probably.
Tell us more. You don't have to say the name, but if you don't want
Kind
to,
of
but
want to
tell
hear
us
the
more.
name.
I don't want to say the name now because I actually want to fact check this. But I think it's like it's a shipping company.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was a shipping company. And then I know some of them don't exist anymore, but I know that they are. I know that there are companies out there who just changed their names and still exist today. I am so sure of it. So I will keep you guys posted on my freelance investigation.
Okay. Please.
I will.
Don't ever say we don't do proper journalism on
Yes,
this
nobody can
podcast.
ever tell us that so we don't properly research.
I'm here. I'm ready for Bar Freak Pulitzer.
Period.
Me too.
Period.
So, as the Germans are, getting an upper hand in the battle against the Herero prisoners of war and those who surrendered are put into chains and sort of rounded up. During interrogations, those who refuse to reveal the location of Herero weapons are killed.
Mm.
Those who survive are branded with the letters GH, which means, and I learned this pronunciation yesterday, Gefangene Herero, which means Herero prisoner or captive. They're branded with the letters GH, and they're deported to labor camps where they are made to work and wear metal tags bearing a number around their necks. Is that insane?
Committing 2 genocides within the span of 50 years is crazy.
But no, but I feel like this is an important point because did they commit 2 genocides or did they successfully commit 1 genocide and then basically perfect it
Yep.
Yeah.
and become very good at committing
Genocide. I think that's literally what it is. Yeah.
Like if there had been consequences for this genocide, like real consequences.
Yep.
Probably the second one wouldn't have happened like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like it felt like this was like a test run. And so after the Nama surrendered, they were also deported to different labor camps. But some of them ended up being sent to work in other German colonies, like the Cameroons. But most of them were sent to German Southwest Africa's coastal areas in the labor camps. But the living conditions in those concentration camps were horrendous. Horrendous. People were subjected to corporal punishment, overworked every day of the week, and they were poorly fed, poorly clothed, and poorly housed. And they lived in very overcrowded, poorly built, and poorly ventilated structures. Those who were deemed fit enough to work provided slave labor for the German military and public works, and others also worked for private entities like ranges, farms, and private companies. Again, I'm doing my investigation on these private companies. A bit of a trigger warning for what I'm going to talk about next. Herero prisoners were also subjected to sexual violence and rape. Some of them were even turned into sex slaves by German soldiers and settlers. And a German doctor named Eugene Fischer conducted medical experiments on the children that were born of those rapes, right? And his conclusion was that children born of biracial unions were inferior to their German fathers. His research inspired Adolf Hitler.
That's what I was thinking.
And
I
in
was
the
like,
30s,
yeah.
Dr. Fischer taught his racist theories to Nazi doctors. One of his students was Joseph Mengele,
The angel of
the
death.
angel of death,
Ah,
who was responsible for the medical experiments in the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp during the Holocaust. Yeah, it's so like it's something I feel like you just have to sit with this information and just like let it process as to how all of it is connected. Germany had such a genocidal spirit to them for so long, and it's just so baffling to see that. Like, this is 1904. Holocaust is what? 19.
they started rounding them up in like 1937.
Yeah. They just like yeah, I just think it's insane to see
Seems
this
like
incredible
Cultural at some
yes,
point.
it
Like,
became like a cultural genocidal spirit
spirit,
that
like-
just continued.
Yeah, and I agree, and I also think there has to be a conversation about like framing, like narrative framing,
Mhm.
because the way a lot of the way the Holocaust is taught is very much like Adolf Hitler like has this.
Yes, that he just has this
You know, like,
epiphany.
He just
one
wakes
day.
up
Yeah.
and
Like, it's
like
all his
writing
fault.
Mein
I'm
Kampf,
starting
and
to
it comes out of he pulls it
Yeah,
out of nowhere,
that's so true. That it's
and
just
there
like
it
a-
arrives in like 1930s, and I
Yeah,
think it's
that it was just a thing that
it's not
he
the beginning of the
that he-
story.
yeah, when it's like what I just said, he was inspired by a doctor who was doing medical experiments on the children born of rape from a previous genocide. Like, that's insane. And like you said, like the narrative framing of that definitely needs to be a point of discussion in the education in a lot of these things, you know?
Hell is overcrowded.
Yeah. Okay, but back to German Southwest Africa and the concentration camps. The prisoner mortality rate was exceptionally high, between 47 to 74%. In 1905, in the first year of captivity of the Herero, 7,862 out of 10,632 women and children and 4,137 men died in the concentration camps in the first year. By 1907, the German military became concerned with like the incredibly high mortality rate, truly only because it was affecting the labor force, not for any other reasons. And they had asked the civilian government if they could improve the conditions in the camps. The civilian government refused. And it was also the civilian government who insisted in the continued imprisonment of those who were too sick to work and those that posed no threat. One of the deputies even said, and I quote, "There were no innocent prisoners." Where have we heard that before? And the suffering would teach Herero a much needed lesson. And that, I quote, "because of the Herero's high fertility rate, they would be able to regenerate their numbers in no time."
Because what's it called? Freaking dogs that
Yeah.
have 8 kids.
Can
in
you
one
imagine
go.
saying that? Like they were, again, just seeing them as objects. The camps closed in 1908 to coincide with the German emperor's birthday. And he sort of gave the narrative that he was doing it as like something benevolent for his birthday. So he decided to close the concentration camps. And when Shark Island was
What?
yeah, he told the German people that he was doing it as a benevolent thing out of the goodness of his heart
For his own
for his own birthday. And when Shark Island was disbanded, only 193 of the last 3,500 Africans to arrive walked out alive. Yeah. And the small number of remaining Herero and Nama were moved from the camps into legalized bondage and were considered property of the Kaiser, right? And they were split into small groups and sent off to German-owned farms and ranches, and they worked as enslaved laborers, where they experienced the same type of torture and cruelty that they experienced in the camps. So nothing changed. Just the
branding.
Just the branding changed. Nothing changed for them. By the start of the year 1907, the effects of the genocide were so dire that German historians basically declared that the Herero had ceased to exist as a tribe. Yeah. And in terms of numbers, about 65,000 out of 80,000 Herero and at least 10,000 out of 20,000 Nama were killed under German rule. So that's up to 75% of Herero were killed, gone. And the Blue Book is one of the few existent records that contains statements from the survivors who were victims and witnesses of the brutal colonial onslaught. That's how the Blue Book ends. It's the only primary source out there that actually has eyewitness accounts. Yeah. But we're not done. We're not done.
So
With the publication of the Blue Book out in the world now, right?
I'm done.
low key, but
I'm tapping out.
I totally get it. But in 1918, with the Blue Book out in the world, right? The Germans were extremely furious.
pourquoi?
Let me
Sorry.
tell you. Their protests and objections to the Blue Book had nothing to do with the content, but rather they insisted that what the report outlined was the modus operandi of all European colonialism.
Well,
Not wrong. So in 1919, they published their own report called the White Book.
period.
And in that report, they tried to show how the British, the Dutch, and other colonizing powers were equally guilty of the same crimes and terror that they accused the Germans of perpetrating. And you know what? They're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
But two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
So they published this White Book in 1919, trying to say that, yeah, we did this, but so did you guys.
Period.
They said, I mean, I thought we were all doing this. Is basically what they were saying.
Yeah, calling the kettle black, like pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah.
Like Britain, what are you doing out here?
But even with the publication of the White Book in 1920, the British administered Union of South Africa was still awarded German Southwest Africa.
I mean, they lost the war, so
Yeah, they lost the war, and the region was now just called Southwest Africa. But after the Blue Book had served its purpose, the Union of South Africa had German Southwest Africa, the South African administration realized that the Blue Book could also be a liability to their white supremacist agenda in the area. Because, I mean, the main reason that the Blue Book was even conceived of was to convince the Allied powers during World War I
look how
that
humane they are.
the British should be the colonizing force of German Southwest Africa. I mean, even with everything that was outlined in the Blue Book, there were no attempts to try and put German officers on trial for war crimes, and there were no detailed investigations that were conducted on any allegations that were contained in the Blue Book. And now that German Southwest Africa was under the British administration through South Africa, it became clear that a new agenda was becoming more important: the building of a unified white settler community.
As one does.
The emphasis was on consolidation of the white settlers and not reconciliation of the Herero and Nama. When a German delegation from Namibia traveled to Cape Town for talks with the Southwest African Prime Minister in 1924, they were given assurances that there would be no further official mention of the Blue Book anywhere. And in 1926, the first official act of the new all-white Legislative Assembly for Southwest Africa was to destroy all the copies of the Blue Book and to remove it from public memory. The Blue Book was withdrawn from circulation in libraries and archives throughout the British Empire, and in South Africa and Namibia, they got rid of all the copies. By 1935, the Legislative Assembly was told that all known copies of the Blue Book had been destroyed. But Herero chiefs had actually kept a secret copy as a record of their trauma. Remember the chief that I talked about who helped smuggle Herero and other survivors into Botswana during the uprising, right? A little over 20 years after the publication of the Blue Book, so in 1940, Chief Kutaku passed the book into the hands of a man named Reverend Michael Scott, a well-known anti-apartheid activist who was seen as a troublemaker by colonial authorities.
Yeah.
Together, in 1946, they presented that one copy of the Blue Book to the United Nations as evidence that South Africa was breaking its promise to do better than Germany did, because they also suffered a lot under the South Africans. This also laid like the very, very early groundwork for Namibian independence. And despite, South Africa's efforts to destroy a report that they once used to sort of further their own colonial ambitions, the truth of what happened to the Herero and the Nama was eventually exposed. I mean, they went to the United Nations. I mean, whatever you do in the dark will eventually come to light, even if it's 20, 30 years later,
Yeah.
right? And today, physical copies of the original Blue Book, non-existent.
Really?
Yeah. But in 2003, there was a reprint.
Yay.
That is also very difficult to find
Oh my gosh.
physical copies of.
Okay.
But I, in my investigative skills,
Lynn.
but me, with my investigative skills,
As a journalist does.
I found a copy online. I have it on my iPad right now.
Oh my, can you send it to me?
I will.
Thank you.
It's very sad. There are very explicit photos in there.
Oh no.
Very explicit photos in there. But it's very detailed. Yeah, I found it online because I was like, let me find this.
You're really gassing yourself up today.
I really am.
You said
I
it
wanted
is
to find it,
fun.
so I found it. The 2000
Every copy disappeared
But
from the
I
face
did
of
it.
this earth. Lynn is like, except I.
I found it.
I found it, and it's on my iPad.
You gotta do like a whole.
Yeah, wait,
Don't
actually,
let the feds
reveal.
find you.
here's the copy of the Blue Book. I have it on my iPad. Here's the Blue Book.
Just imagining that someone was so bent over on like eradicating a people
For land.
for lands and like land that's not even yours. God damn it! Like I mean, like
But again,
Namibia
like-
to Germany is like a long ass flight.
The genocide is diabolical.
Mm-hmm.
What is also diabolical is Britain recording exactly what's happened
Mhm.
and then because it's convenient and then 8 years later destroying that entire record. I
Mhm.
think that's like
No,
yeah, I feel like that's also like its own brand of diabolical.
I was aware in my high school years that there was a genocide
Yeah.
in Namibia and like that was the first genocide of the 20th century.
Mhm.
But me, I just didn't know the amount of work ethic that went into it.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we are going to wrap it right there. But thank you to whoever is listening. I hope you go on a long walk and relax and do something kind and gentle for yourself.
Thank
Thank
you. And thank you, Aisha, for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. This was, I don't want to say fun, but it was very instructive. It's very, very, very
We're
educational.
gonna put that on like our podcast advertising. Don't know if it's fun, but very instructive.
Yeah, like very educational. Like I really, really enjoyed learning. Well, appreciated learning about it.
Well, thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time.